Welcome, dear wanderers of our digital constellation, to a new and intimate chapter from Whispers of Turkish Stars, the corner where feelings become narratives and every quiet heartbeat of the famous turns into a tale you can't stop listening to. Before we dive into tonight's delicate storm, tap subscribe, press like, and if you want to support this family a little more, consider clicking the join button. Now, settle in, exhale slowly, and prepare your heart, because what follows opens doors many believed were sealed, and uncovers hopes and confessions that no one expected to hear. It began away from cameras and carpets, inside a warm living room where a handful of close friends had gathered to loosen the knots of a long week. Soft lighting, unhurried music, the clink of glasses punctuating laughter and whispered asides. Comfort, in all its simplest forms. No one imagined that within that gentle hush, the atmosphere would turn as fragile as glass. In that cocoon of calm, Barış Baktaş sat slightly apart, as if he needed a pocket of air that was his alone. He watched the amber swirl at the bottom of his glass, then spoke, not loudly, not theatrically, but with the honesty of someone who has run out of places to hide. "I'm terrified I might never cross paths with her again," he murmured, "and I don't know how to live with that." The room fell still, the music suddenly louder only because the conversation disappeared. It felt like even the walls were listening. From there, every stray thought seemed to drift to one person, Yağmur Yüksel. Not because gossip demanded it, not due to idle speculation, but because the sincerity in Barış's voice had cut through the easy chatter and laid something true on the table. As if the first admission had unlocked a second one, he added in a voice that carried both relief and remorse, "I always sensed there was a rare kind of closeness between us, the sort that doesn't come around twice. I just couldn't say it when she needed to hear it." His thumb traced the rim of the glass, chasing a way out of the maze inside his chest. Those who have watched them closely, side by side between obligations and rehearsals, know that their connection was never just a moment captured for the public record. On quiet breaks, there were gestures almost no one noticed. She would set a small plate near him when fatigue dulled his face, not making a scene of it, not announcing it, simply knowing what he needed. He, in turn, created a buffer around her when the frenzy threatened to swallow her peace, guiding people away with a soft word, a protective glance. And yet, when they parted, described politely as amicable, as if gentleness could mute the ache, neither had spoken publicly with such rawness. Not until that night. At sunrise, as if the day itself had asked for an answer, Yağmur posted a story on Instagram. The image was calm in tone, all subdued light and quiet edges. The caption said just enough and nothing more: "Some bonds don't leave, they find quieter rooms inside us." It was the kind of line that holds both sting and salve. Fans didn't need a map. In a breath, the connection was drawn. These were words tethered to Barış's unrest. Twitter burned. Instagram echoed. TikTok turned into a chorus. This is about him. Anyone who thinks it's over is fooling themselves. They're not done, no way. And then a voice from the media, a journalist respected for digging beneath shiny surfaces, added fuel to the embers. The two, they said, had started speaking again in recent weeks. Not constantly, not in floods of declarations, but in messages that circled shared history and the tender places they left unsaid. Barış didn't step into that confession from nowhere, the journalist observed. He sounded wounded and hopeful at once. You don't talk like that if the pages are truly turned. A friend close to him, someone who has seen the private weather behind the public smile, revealed something even more intimate. There was a letter. Not ink and paper, but a long, carefully composed note tucked in his phone. Words he couldn't push past his lips in person, words he was afraid might change what remained if he set them free. In it were lines that read like apologies and promises balancing on a wire. That he hadn't wanted to let go, only didn't know how to hold on without breaking something fragile, that if her mind ever wandered back to them, he would still be standing in the same place, patient, at a door he once closed too quickly. And yet that message, heavy as it was, stayed unsent. He didn't tap send. He simply carried it. In public, Yağmur has chosen another path, the one paved with grace and quiet consistency. No impulsive captions, no live videos, no pointed remarks. But those who know her patterns speak softly of a different tide beneath the surface. Recently, they say, she's been distracted in uncharacteristic ways, lingering on a thought just long enough to forget where she is, leaving questions to float unanswered, staring past the window like a memory just called her name. When something touches the deepest part of her, a close friend confided, she doesn't make noise. She steps inward. It's her way of protecting what she feels, and she's doing it now. As attention hit a fever pitch, the internet turned into an archive project. Fans revisited old interviews, screen-captured forgotten backstage snatches, replayed glances that, in hindsight, seemed to carry whole hidden conversations. The comments kept repeating the same refrain: they never got over Barış and Yağmur, that what they shared was the kind of spark that doesn't repeat itself. That a reunion felt less like a fantasy and more like a chapter waiting for timing to catch up. One tiny moment added fresh oxygen to the speculation. Photographers spotted Yağmur stepping out of a cafe, a book tucked into her coat. Not just any novel, but one Barış had once praised for its honesty in an interview. Coincidence, perhaps. Or maybe a silent sentence only one person was meant to hear. The image ricocheted across feeds, spawning theories and threads that unraveled deep into the night. Then came a revelation that made the story even more human. A confidant of Barış shared that he had started therapy, not as a headline, but as a steady practice of looking inward. He was trying to understand the reflex that told him to retreat when something precious asked him to stay, to learn the shape of the fear that knocks when love comes too close. He's opening doors he avoided for years, the confidant said gently. It's uncomfortable. It hurts. But it matters. The feeling he carries for her didn't dim, it just moved into a quieter room and refused to leave. Around Yağmur, the circle is respectful and sealed. They understand the fragility of naming things before they are ready, so they keep their voices low and their opinions to themselves. Still, someone on her team allowed a telling detail to slip between the careful lines. In recent days, she has asked more than once who would be appearing at upcoming events, specifically whether Barış might be on the guest list. He hasn't attended any of those gatherings for a long time. But there it was, the question hanging between schedule entries, like a test balloon. When she speaks of him, the source said, a small smile sometimes flashes by, brief, unguarded, and eloquent in a way words rarely are. Is there a definitive answer? Not yet. And maybe that's the only honest place they can stand right now. Perhaps the heart sometimes needs the hush more than a marching band. Perhaps two people who never really stopped looking for each other need to relearn the language they once spoke without effort. What's certain is that this isn't a story with a period at the end. Not for them, and not for the audience who has grown up watching their chemistry ripple through rooms, screens, and conversations. Here's what we know, stitched from empathy in the whispers of those who've seen more than they have said: a private confession that slipped out in a room that felt safe, a dawn post that felt like a hand on a closed door, a series of messages lighting up unevenly across weeks, with no grand fireworks and no cold silence, a long unsent letter heavy with the truth he can barely carry, a woman who chooses dignity over loudness, even when the tide rises. A fandom that refuses to stop believing in a love that appeared to be both a home and a mirror, a favorite book reappearing as if to underline a sentence they didn't finish writing, a man sitting across from himself in therapy, choosing the difficult road, a careful teen respecting the hush, and a pair of names that still tremble together in the public imagination. If your heart is asking whether this is the start of a new chapter, you're not alone. Maybe it's an overture to reconciliation, the kind that takes more patience than a headline can hold. Maybe it's a tender surge of nostalgia that offers comfort before receding. Maybe it's both at once, the past calling softly, and the future deciding whether to answer. What we can say gently, responsibly, and with a kind of reverence for what they've shared is that the thread between Barış and Yağmur hasn't snapped. It may have thinned, stretched across time and pride, but it remains, asking for care and honesty. There are whispers that the next weeks will test them. Schedules will overlap in ways they haven't in months. A charity event could put them in the same frame again, where greetings last a fraction too long and eye contact tells the truth first. Friends on both sides are preparing for whatever comes. Ready to be the steady hands, to keep the room kind and quiet, to let them discover whether this is a return or a graceful goodbye that finally finds its words. For now, we watch a story that belongs to two people navigating the most private spaces of their hearts, even as the world feels very loud around them. We watch with hope that whatever happens next, it is chosen with care. We watch because some connections linger like the last note of a song, impossible to forget even after the speakers go silent. Tell us what your heart says in the comments. Do you believe this is the moment the tide turns? Or are we witnessing a gentle echo that will fade with time? Who should we explore next here at Whispers of Turkish Stars? Thank you for sharing this tender chapter with us, for listening between the lines and honoring the silence as much as the sound. Before you go, tap subscribe, give this video a like, and if you want to support the Whispers of Turkish Stars family a little more, click join. We'll meet you in the next episode. And remember, in this world of dazzling lights and careful pauses, every quiet moment might be hiding a story that is just waiting for someone to lean in and listen.